Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle podcast, where we highlight the people and business that make Huntsville thrive. We got a great guest today, Deborah McGee. She's a founder and CEO of PZI Group, a dynamic leader. She's a strategic thinker. She's passionate about building communities, and she's built a company that's not only thriving in business, but it's also making an impact in people's lives. That's what we like to highlight on this show right here. So, Deborah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, what inspired you to start PZI?
Well, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I thought about it, but it really wasn't a plan. So after a full corporate career, and to be honest with you, I was a senior corporate executive that went through a severance, through a restructure, reorganization is the word, right? And after that reorganization, I decided, you know what, I'm going to retire. I'm just done. I've had enough. 25 years in corporate life is more than enough time. And moved to Huntsville, Alabama, and to live on the lake and drink margaritas. That lasted for about 6 months. And started looking around and said, my background's always been international and in human resources and corporate taxation, et cetera. And it's like, that might be something some companies here might could use. And before I knew it, here we were.
Wow. I think a lot of businesses start like that, where you see kind of a gap in the market, but then there's obviously some challenges. What were some challenges, and also some of the rewards of going from that corporate background to doing your own thing with an entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I spent, like I said, 25 years in the corporate world. And for about 15 of those years, I was with the big four accounting firm. So I came from that consulting background, but then I worked internal as a global head for international HR for a big organization, about 45,000 employees globally. And when I moved here, I really thought my big passion is taking care of people. Always has been. And the company follows that passion. That's what we care the most about, is taking care of people. That's probably why I chose HR. I went from, unfortunately, I'm also a CPA, fortunately, unfortunately. So I tell people I saw the light and actually went over to the light side and started dealing with people instead of dealing with facts and figures. But it's really all about taking care of people. And I love taking care of our employees. When I was in corporate, I thought that's something that could probably be helpful here. And I think the biggest challenge, going from that mindset, especially I came to Huntsville not knowing anybody. So I didn't have any contacts. I had no family here, no business contacts here. And the niche that I've always been in has been in large global headquarters. So Washington, D.C., New York, Atlanta, Georgia. But there's not a huge amount of global headquarters in Huntsville, Alabama. So that was a challenge. And no one knew what international human resources was and why you needed it and what's it called. And so I started doing a lot of education. I did a lot of education. I'm a past president for NADA, the North Alabama International Trade Association, as well as on the NASHRM, North Alabama Human Resources Board. And I really started working with them, helping to educate people. And once people found out what it was I had done for all those years, they're like, oh my gosh, we just want a contract. We've got a person here, and it just flourished.
Wow. That is a reward right there when you see your baby come to fruition. That's pretty awesome. Please share what PZI stands for. I know people say, PZI, what do these initials stand for, and why did you choose those?
So it stands for People Zealously Interconnected. We like to say zealous is another word for passion, and that's what we're passionate about. We're really passionate about our people. And with the word interconnection, so we are an outsourced shared service center. It's really what we are, which means that all the different pieces of that, whether it's relocation or human resources or taxation or payroll or performance management, they're all interconnected. And so that's where the I comes from.
Oh, there you go. So I think people do forget that from top to bottom, we're all connected in the company, right? You got to take care of everybody, and you're passionate about that.
100%. And I remind companies all the time, products don't sell themselves. People do. And it's always about the people. It always comes back to the people. If you don't take care of your people and you don't support your people, well, you might as well be out of business.
And you probably will be. So you probably will be. So as a leader, you kind of mentioned some of your personal values, taking care of people and things like that. What are some more personal values that help you kind of make your decisions as a leader?
Sure. So I'm a faith-based leader, but I was not always a faith-based leader. So after spending 25 years in a very high-paced corporate world, I was pretty cutthroat, unfortunately. And I really, when I went through the separation from my company, it gave me the opportunity to really stop and get in touch with my faith, spend time with my daily devotion and get closer to my Lord and understand what it was He wanted me to do. And the whole thing just came through that. I can't even explain how it happened. I tell people all the time, He just moved people in my path. He moved solutions in our path, opportunities just show up. And I know that's all God led. I've learned my lesson. So it's like, absolutely. So we're a very faith-based company. We believe, and that's where I like to think that if you think of human resources, I mean, that's really kind of the whole purpose of what Jesus taught anyway, is taking care of your people. And that's what human resources is there for, is really taking care of those people. I like to joke around with the idea that, when you think of the parable of the 99 sheep, and Jesus left the 99 sheep and went to go find the one, that's kind of a performance improvement plan.
There you go. I never thought about it that way. So you kind of need those step backs sometime to slow down and kind of look at that. I've heard a phrase that, if the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy, so we all kind of need that. When you're doing all the things, it's kind of hard to slow down and do that. But it's kind of a God thing that you did kind of go through that corporate situation.
Absolutely. I actually wrote a book about 2 years ago. It's called the Leadership Attitude. So Forbes came after me because I was a woman in global business, and I'd started a company. And so they wanted kind of that story. And so, I joke in my book about the fact that God gave me a timeout. It's like, if you won't leave that job, I'll just take it away and give you a little timeout.
Hey, sometimes you got to get put in the corner. It happens. Put your nose in the corner.
I did. I got put in the corner. I came back out stronger, but I did get put in the corner.
So you leading these global teams. I mean, that's got to be a challenge. How do you keep the team aligned, especially with companies outside of the U.S. that has different, customs and values and different things? How do you keep it all together?
It's tough. Really, I think really understanding that people are people, no matter the culture, no matter the time zone, no matter the language. And I've always worked with international teams. And that was something I learned very early in my career, is that people are always people. And so when you go, well, if you're working with Asia, maybe they're very task oriented and they're very, consensus based, but not everybody. People are really people. I had individuals on my team that were extremely bold and outspoken, and I had others that were, more consensus based. Same with Europeans, so people get so hung up on Americans, excuse me. With Americans, they're all about work. They don't have any work-life balance. They just work, work, work. Not everybody. It really depends on the person.
Yeah. So just like what you talked about several times, it's all about the people, right? It's not just a, cookie cutter approach to everybody. Like, it's an individual approach. Yeah. I mean, almost every entrepreneur is going to face one of those kind of make or break moments. When looking back, do you remember one of those and how you pushed through it?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I had always designed functions within big organizations, but when you're an entrepreneur, it's your money. It's your organization, but the bottom line stops with you. There's nobody behind you to back you up. There's nobody else writing the check but you. And I joke sometimes with my team. It's like, well, I know you guys only bring me out here to bring the credit card or sign the paycheck, which is okay. But when you talk about make or break, I think as an entrepreneur, especially as you grow and you become bigger, and we're now, we're 6 different companies as part of PZI Group. We're about 200 employees in 26 countries. So we've really exploded. And when that happens, as an entrepreneur, you have to let go of some things. You have to delegate. But I think the most important thing that definitely happened to me is you have to delegate task and not authority. And if something doesn't feel right, blow into it. Use your instincts. Or I like to call those as, Jesus standing over my shoulder going, hey, you better look at that. And that's, so often I was like, oh, I don't want to micromanage somebody. Sometimes you need to blow into it.
It's not authority. I like that one. That's a good little clip right there. I'm going to remember that. So. And looking back again, was there a failure or a setback that taught you something that you still carry with you today?
Yeah, exactly that. That I delegated some financial oversight responsibility. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we do that because, even though I'm a CPA, does not mean I love the numbers, and so I'd love to delegate that. But if it's your business, you better know your numbers. You better always know your numbers and know your finances. And I think a lot of us get in trouble on that as we grow because we hire someone to take care of that. But at the end of the day, it's really yours, and you got to be responsible for it. So. Been through that.
That hurts. I had to raise my hand on that one. I did that. I hired someone, and then like, they can handle it. And then, well, not exactly. I mean, they are handling it, but maybe not in the way that you want. So you got to know your numbers, right? So, it's something you're trying to do. How do you look at making a long-term impact, not just in your business, but in people's lives with your business?
Sure. I think from a long-term impact, and it has taught me. This is something really over the years I think as Americans, we're so short base focused. It's like we got to win that contract. We got to get that client. We got to get that next thing. But I've worked globally, and life's a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And I think you have to look at your business the same way. Is how are you going to be able to go long term on it? How are you going to impact people? Because nothing makes me happier than to see someone come to work for us that's, I mean, we are a niche, Joe. It's really niche, and what we do on the international side and on performance management and things we do around people is so niche focused that a lot of times people go, oh, I can't do that. I even had one individual, I remember she came to work for me, and after 2 months she came and she goes, I can't do this job. This is just, I'm failing you. I'm not being able to do it. I said, listen, you've never done this before. Of course you don't. I've got 30 years experience. Of course you don't. You can't be me in 2 months. It doesn't work that way. Stay with it. And now she's been with me 4 years. And to watch where she's now becoming a subject matter expert, it makes me so happy.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it speaks to you as a leader that you not only were going to take that extra time, because I'm sure you don't have extra time. You've got a lot going on, but you saw something in her and stuck with it. And look at that, 4 years later. You know how hard it is to find good employees. So you must have seen something there. And she should be honored by that as well. That's cool that you did that. So I can't imagine what a typical day looks like when you're in, I don't know how many time zones and so many people all over the world, but what does a kind of a typical day look like? And what part of your day is still the most exciting for you?
My day always starts at 4, and I'd love to get up at 4 in the morning, and I like to have my daily devotion at that time because that's when I'm the freshest. Between 4 and 6:30 is my golden moment. A lot of times, things get in the way. So there's finances, or like you said, working in other time zones. This morning at 5:30, I was on with Austria. I may be on with Kuwait another time, or I may be at 8 o'clock at night on with Singapore. So time zones affect a global market. And so your time is not your 9 to 5 typical. So for me, a day always starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. And by 8 o'clock, 8:30, I'm typically in the office. And then it's, meetings. Unfortunately, I read something where most CEOs spend about 80% of their time in meetings and about another 15% of their time answering emails and only 5% on strategy, where we need to be spending 90% of our time on strategy, and all the other stuff. That's the reality, especially with small business when you're first starting out. And I never expected this business I thought I'd do some consulting work, Joe. I thought, okay, I'll do some consulting. That turned into a huge operations. I mean, I couldn't be happier, but yeah, it's a lot. As long as I get 6 hours of sleep a day, I'm golden.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a fellow member of the 4 a.m. club. I'm not as excited as you apparently to get up at 4 a.m. I do it. Don't get me wrong. Without complaint out loud, but it's not as much fun as you make it sound. But hey, if you want to be a CEO, listen up. This is what it requires, right?
That's
You're up 4 a.m.
I
That's what
don't
it
know.
takes.
It's funny. I can email any of my CEO colleagues, at 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'll actually get an answer. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't really expect for you to answer me, but yeah, you're up too.
One of the greatest inventions ever, if you have an iPhone, is where you can schedule text. Because I always want to text people at 4 a.m. It's like, that's a no-no though. So I can schedule them for a more reasonable hour.
Hard. You're right, Joe. I try so hard, and several of my VPs have reminded me, that I always try to put at the bottom of it, especially if it's someone in a same time zone as me, is that I'm sending this email at my convenience. Please feel free to answer it at your convenience.
That's nice of you to include. I can't imagine, like I said, all those time zones. I don't know how you keep up with it. So I was trying to schedule a podcast with someone in Australia one time, and I was getting calculators out, and I didn't know, look, calendars, sundials. I had it all. I couldn't figure it out. So, I mean, you don't seem like you're slowing down. So what's next for PZI? You got some good things on the horizon?
Definitely. And so I think we're still growing. I think we're still looking at different countries, different business lines. Our relocation management company has really exploded. Our performance management, we do a ton of work with the government on that. So I see that exploding. We're beginning to do a lot of direct prime work with the U.S. government where we hadn't necessarily done that. When I was in a corporate world, I didn't really work that much with the government because I always worked with the commercial side of the house. Now working with the government is very different. Personally, I'd always been involved with the government. Professionally, I'd always been involved in the commercial side of the house. So I think, we'll see a lot more prime contracts for that piece of it. Personally, my book is really my big push. I want to get that out there and speak more on it. It was really a God-led thing to do it and talk more about how informal leadership is so important in an organization and has really impacted our organization by giving people with the voice to influence really without having necessarily the authority or the title to do it. But those influencers are huge. And that's where your informal leadership is really going to come from.
I think someone who accidentally grew a global company might know what she's talking about. So that book sounds pretty amazing. If you need to go pick up a copy or hire her to come in and speak to your organization, I think it'd be worthwhile for you right there. And I want to show that CEOs actually have personalities. So are you ready for the rapid fire section of this interview? I think if you stay ready, you get ready. You're ready. All right, here we go. So are you an early bird or night owl? I think you answered that one, but
I'm an early bird.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your biggest pet peeve in business?
Customer service
Oh,
really
man.
drives
What?
me. If people don't do customer service, it's like, please just actually talk to people nicely. Okay. Be polite.
It doesn't take much, right? Just bare minimum. Talk nice to
Very
them. So
minimum.
dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yeah, that was the correct answer, by the way. Favorite beverage?
Favorite beverage? Still between coffee or rosé. Depends on what time of the day.
Like, it's coffee until it's time to rosé, I guess is the right answer. So who's a dream client or project you'd love to land?
I really want to work more with installation commands. I think the background of supporting people and being able to work in those different support groups, whether it's religious activities or whether it's, community services, that speaks to our heart. That's who we are as a company. So that would be a dream job, I think, for us.
There you go. Hey, if you're listening right now, make the connection. You won't be disappointed. Sure. Hey, do you have a nickname?
So some of my earlier employees who first started with me, they gave me a little figure of Flash Gordon. So they called me Flash.
Yeah, you're all over the place, I bet. There you go. What's a quote or motto that you live by?
Why not us?
I love that one. I love that one. I love it. Yeah. I tell people that all the time. So what's a favorite local spot to unwind, either Huntsville or Guntersville or Madison?
Huntsville, definitely. I'm lucky I live on the lake. So being able to unwind on my back porch looking out on the water with a glass of rosé is pretty nice, actually, Joe. So yeah.
It's not bad. Not a bad life right there. So what's one thing most people don't know about you?
So I'm a Carolina girl. That's where I grew up originally. I'm a South Carolina girl. And so whenever I say the word Carolina, it always comes out just exactly right. But I'm probably a little bit of a closet Clemson fan. I love my Alabama Roll Tide. I love it. But I was raised in South Carolina, so I might be a little bit of a Clemson fan.
That's funny how you said that pretty quiet too. Even on the podcast, you're like, yeah.
Well, my husband heard it and be like, what?
He'll poke his head in there. So we mentioned the book earlier. How do people find that book?
So you can find it. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles as well. And it's called The Leadership Attitude. You can get it paperback, hardback, or audio. So you can also download it. I'm a huge audio fan. I probably do about 3 audiobooks a month. So I had to make sure that it was on audio.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm in my car is my mobile library. So I'm in there learning 100%. As I'm going. Yeah. So, and how can people follow you and hire you and keep up with all that you have going on? What's your website?
So www.PZIGroup.com for the company. And then my website is Deborah E. McGee.
Cool. And we will link all that in show notes in case you're like me, you're not a great speller. So you can go in there and just click on things, go right to those. So Deborah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your experiences and the things that you're doing that, hey, you were trying to wind things down. You blew things up. So that's an amazing story. So thanks for coming and sharing with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're listening right now, I know you were impressed. Just admit it. So you want to hire her, bring her in, let her talk about her book or leadership skills or whatever you want your company to do. Or maybe you have a company that needs her services. So go on those, just click on those links, go hook her up and find out how she can help your business. It doesn't matter where you live in this earth. She can help you. Not many people can say that. And she's right here locally too. So thanks for coming on, Deborah. And thanks you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.